Stanley presents, oh, hey, that's me, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. Excelsior. Welcome.
It's time for The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.
The ultimate hero in the ultimate adventures.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Pack your bag, grab your passport, and prepare to go globetrotting with classic four-color adventures of Indiana Jones.
Jones?
Jones! Mr. Jones, I've heard a lot about you, sir. Your appearance is exactly the way I imagined.
I'm here now. What do you want to talk about?
Well, welcome, IndyCast listeners and further fans to the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. I'm Joe Stuber, once again drawing that Raiders red line from the States all the way across the ocean over to my podcast partner, Keith Voss in Austria. Keith, how are things on your side of the globe?
Cracking up, feeling a little crazy, maybe.
Has nothing to do with these magazines, right?
At least a little bit, but going slightly mad. I don't know.
Yeah,
this is a perfect time to be reading these because it feels like 2020 has been a spoof on history, hasn't it?
Does it? Like, you wonder, like, what? I know we talked about how Mad Magazine's kind of like just doing reprints now, and obviously Cracked is defunct. Crazy, I think, only went up to 83, but wouldn't you like to see these magazines now, or at least Mad, like how they like Mad's take on 2020?
Oh my God, yeah, that would just be perfect.
It'd be a super special, and we could have like one of those like records inserted in, and you could. What was it? A Super Spectacular Day was one of my all-time favorites.
I mean, but there would also be like that magazine would be like 500 pages. It would have to be. There was so much stuff going on this year.
Volume 1.
Oh my God.
Oh, so hopefully you're safe over there in Austria. I know things are. As we're recording this maybe like a week before the holidays or a few days before the holidays. It's probably going to air in January. But as of now, I know things are amping up on your side. I know here in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, things are amping up too. So, but you and yours are safe.
We're going into our third lockdown on the 26th. So, and that's a hard lockdown. We even have a curfew here. We have to be indoors by 8 and so on. So it's getting a bit intense. Austria's had some of the worst numbers per capita in the world. So we're just trying to stay safe, stay healthy, staying inside, reading.
That's the best advice we can give to anybody is, like listen to the IndyCast, go find your favorite podcast, listen to Comic Book Central. There's a cheap plug for you there. Exactly. Go get these magazines that we're talking about. They're online. Go get Further Adventures if you don't have them already. We're going to be in this for a little while. We're going to hunker down until the vaccine is out and about, but we're going to be in this for a while. So everybody out there listening, stay safe, do everything you can, stay socially distant, stay hunker down if you can, use a mask, all those things. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep you entertained here as best we can. So, and Keith, these spoofs, we'll say hit or miss. I think even the Mad magazines, they were kind of hit and miss on these. But last time we got together, we did take a look at the indie spoofs in Mad magazine. We chatted with the writer of 3 of those hilarious tales, the great Dick DeBartolo, Dickie D. He was here. Keith, we're going to be moving on to some of the other spoofs now that were produced back in the 80s.
That's right. Things are about to get cracked and crazier as we bring you guys our review of the comedic takes of our favorite archaeologist adventure in those magazines, Cracked and Crazy.
Yeah, we're going to talk about those a little bit. Cracked magazine, we kind of gushed over the last episodes about our love for Mad magazine. We talked about that. We grew up on that. I think we both said that it kind of shaped our comedic sensibilities in many ways. Cracked, basically it was a ripoff of Mad magazine. You had Sylvester the janitor was...
Sylvester P. Smythe.
Sylvester P. Smythe. He was like their little mascot there. You didn't have Alfred E. Newman. At one point, I think they tried to raid a lot of the talent over from Mad. There's a whole book about the history of Cracked magazine. I saw it on Amazon there. It goes into it. But the primary artist, John Severin, we lost him in 2012 at the age of 90. I think he was still doing some work up until the age of 90. But he was 45 years with Cracked magazine. He was a founding cartoonist on Mad magazine back in 1952. He had worked on a bunch of things. I think even going back to those early Mad magazines, there was a Tarzan spoof called Melvin of the Apes. You can find that out there. It's pretty cool. So he is as we're talking about these Cracked Spoofs, he was primarily the artist, the cover artist for everything. The main primary story that they were doing in the magazines, you count on John Severin. But as we get to the Last Crusade one, he didn't do that one. But for most of what we're talking about, it's John Severin.
Yeah. Were you did you collect Cracked at all? Or, was that never on your radar?
I can't remember the quote I was reading when I was doing some research on this. It was but somebody had said, like, Cracked was the magazine you bought when you went to the drugstore or the newsstand, and Mad was sold out.
Yes. You know what? I wanted to
So the answer is yes. I do have some. I did get some, especially if like a movie or something or TV show that I really loved was on the front cover, and I knew there's like some. But to be honest, it was like maybe hit or miss. Mad Magazine was it, right?
Yeah. That's where it was at. But when I was a kid, I used to go, of course, when I was living in New Jersey. I used to go food shopping with my mom, and I'd kind of go off on my own. I'd go over to the magazine area, and I would look for Mad Magazine or Cracked. And I actually found an issue of Cracked magazine, the one with Roger Rabbit on the cover. I think Rambo and like Arnold from Red Heat and Big. And it's called like Who'd Like to Kill Roger Rabbit. I think Crocodile Dundee was on there, and I grabbed that issue because Roger Rabbit was on there. I'd just seen it or whatever, and walking through, and my dad was with me, and he goes, "Oh my God. You know who that is? In the frozen food section, it was Daryl Dawkins from the New Jersey Nets. If you remember, he was chocolate thunder. So it was Daryl Dawkins from the Nets. He was playing for New Jersey at the time, and I went over to him and I asked him for his autograph, and he signed my Crack book.
Random.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, go over and get his autograph, and so I went over and Daryl Dawkins signed my Cracked magazine. I still have it.
Wow. That's a story and a half. I mean, can you imagine if you just had like frozen peas in your hand or something like that,
Exactly. And he was huge. He was just, I was a little kid at the time, so. Really, really funny memory. But as far as Crack goes, I didn't really collect Cracked as much as I did Mad Magazine. Every once in a while, like we said, whenever there wasn't a Mad Magazine available, you went to Cracked.
I think that was it, yeah. But I will say this, Severin's art, I love it. It's just so I really enjoy it. You get a lot of good characterizations on it. Great Christopher Reeve, a great Harrison Ford. The artwork in these, we'll talk about, the writing and some of the spoofs themselves, but the artwork is fantastic all the way through Cracked magazine. And I still think Cracked, I know it went defunct. Like they tried to do, I don't know if you remember like FHM magazine or some of those, like they tried to create Cracked as one of those types of magazines, and I think it sold for a little bit, and then that went under, and so now it's kind of a blog. It's kind of like an online humor and pop culture blog,
right?
Yeah,
and I was
articles and
for
things.
A while. I even
so you were on it.
A couple of years ago I was, and then I downloaded the app, and like every once in a while, some funny little articles would come up, but then after a while, like they just sort of like they were a bit uninteresting to me. So
I saw something interesting recently, just looking to see like what it was in 2020, and it's it's that pop culture blog. But they did have a recent article on the Indiana Jones kind of references in the Captain America movie. Mm-hmm. And then it also mentioned like the Further Adventures comic books, because it was tying Indiana Jones to Marvel and how Disney owns everything now, and like you could see Indiana Jones in a Marvel movie. Like, could you do that? And it was like kind of the speculation thing. I just thought it was cute because it's some of the things that we talk about as far as Further Adventures, and will Marvel do another Indiana Jones comic? Will he be in the Marvel world? Whatever, those kind of things. But I saw it was on cracked.com, I think it was. So anyway, it's not the same thing, but it's
definitely
still
not
out
the
there.
same. You took the words out of my mouth. Definitely not the same. But we're here today to talk about their Indiana Jones spoofs.
Yeah, of course, we're going to spoil these things for you. We've got some links. I know they're out there. Some people posted some online. I had to go to eBay, I think, to get one of them. So we'll put some links out there on our Facebook page. Cheap plug for our Facebook page, to the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. So go check it out. We'll put some things out there so you can kind of follow along with us. Or maybe you have these, but we're going to spoil them. We'll tell you what they are. It's a kind of a mixed bag. Let's talk about Cracked issue 183, and the Raiders spoof and the Temple of Doom spoof both have 7 pages. So you get a lot of content, which I thought was cool. 5 on Crusade. We saw in the Mad magazine, it dwindled with each spoof, the page count on it. But in 183, we get Traders of the Lost Ark. Now, I do not have issue 183, but I have the reprint, and it's in cracked collector's edition. Best movie satires of the 80s. So you got Jaws, you got E.T., Superman, you got Star Trek on there, and Indiana Jones is on there as well. And
that's a shame you don't have that original issue, Joe, because isn't that there is Superman on that?
It is on that. Yeah, I'm tracking it down. The prices I saw were a little bit more than I wanted to pay for it, and I found it online, so it's like, you know what, I can read it anyway.
Yeah,
I can read the whole magazine anyway. But it was funny because the well, I mean, we'll talk about it. It's Traders of the Lost Ark. Let's talk about the cover and the credits page. And you usually handle our credits. We know John Severin, so we're good on that. I think the other ones are a little tougher to dig up, right?
Right. The writers for this issue, they're not really known which one actually did Traders, but some of the writers in this issue were George Gladier, Randy Epley, Mike Risigliano. So we're not really quite sure. That's the crazy thing.
I think
the cracked thing.
The cracked thing, exactly. And I think because John is listed first of the artist and George later is listed first of the writers, I'm going to guess that it was probably George, because I think he did Temple, the next one, the Temple of Gloom, as we get to it. So if I were rolling the dice, I would probably say George on that one. You want to mention some of the characters we got in this one?
I mean, some of the character names are pretty funny, but and also some of the character names are the same as in the Mad Magazine spoof, which is really interesting. But yeah, of course we got Indian Bones, which is a pretty good one.
Not bad,
Bellyache for Belloc, which I personally like. Mucus for Marcus. Marion, which is of course the same. Marion Cravenswood. Oof.
Yeah, they added that. Well, yeah, it was just Marion, and the other one they added Cravenswood.
This is a family podcast, Joe. Let's take it easy. Marion.
It is cracked.
We know some of the questions you asked. Anyway, all right. Marion Cravenswood. Toto for Totes. And of course, Sala is named Salad.
Yeah. So. And really, but I like the Raiders Mad spoof, especially that Jack Davis kind of splash page we had that introduced the characters and all the craziness was going on. This, I will give credit, it's completely different. Now, Cracked is in the style of Mad Magazine. We said it was kind of a ripoff of Mad Magazine at the time. It's done in the style, but certainly not this. It's the 2 pages. You have to read them completely left to right. It's not like page 1, page 2. The introduction runs across both pages. The title runs across both pages. There's a lot of explaining before and after, and it's basically the intro scene. It's the Chachapoyan Temple, that whole thing until he jumps on the plane with Jock and flies out. So that's the whole thing that plays out. Really, this spoof or satire or however you want to refer to it is done in the style of the movie is so outlandish that none of these things could happen, and that joke kind of plays through this entire spoof. And then they're like, well, everybody loves it, but we don't. And so we're the Traders of the Lost Ark. And it's kind of like what Dick D had said before about sometimes if you were struggling to come up with a name, you'd write a story and then the title would
reflect on
the end of the sentence.
Right.
So that's what it is.
But I mean,
here.
They also say that like you said, it has tons of unrealistic moments, and they play off of that. But I have to say though, because I hadn't read this, and I mean, this might even have been the first time I've ever read it. Yeah. It wasn't my favorite one. I definitely love the Mad one a bit more, but I have to tell you, the art is just incredible here.
Love it.
I mean, if we could have this art combined with the writing from the Mad Magazine, I think we'd have almost the perfect satire.
I think both Raiders spoofs so far, the artwork is incredible. And there are some okay jokes as we go through it. And there's even some interesting cameos. We get a James Bond cameo.
Yeah, of course. And we also get the OBCPO Jock's plane.
They kept that. So I don't know. I would have thrown that off a little bit different. It's still the same OBCPO. As the call letters on the plane. But it's this whole thing of like, this movie is so outlandish, none of these things can happen. And like Roger Moore shows up with a martini. He's like, oh, I don't know about that.
Hey,
so that's kind of a cute.
It's another Bond. It's another Bond reference, though. Pretty cool. I mean, we know we all know that Indiana Jones came from James Bond as well. So
yeah, and he's going after this idol here. It's the golden nose of Sonia. Okay, I mean, he just happens to be carrying around 6.5 pounds of cottage cheese that he can use to weight the. I mean, it's
I mean, some of it landed. Some of it was very flat for me. I just like I didn't seem. Some of the jokes just didn't land for me. That's all. I mean, we do get a Star Wars reference in there.
Yeah.
We get a Spielberg cameo. Look over here. Don't look over there.
Right. Yeah.
That stuff to me was funny. Of course,
like Spielberg is distracting the Nazis so he doesn't see them up on the ridge. Right. And then and he also he's crying for Marion because she blows up in the truck, and Salad is telling him not. And he goes, "Oh, first time I get a chance to cry over something that doesn't shed." So nice callback to Han Solo and Chewbacca. I mean, I think those were so the easy jokes at the time.
Exactly. I kind of put two and two together too. After when I saw that, it just made me realize a little bit about, just to compare quickly, Rise of Skywalker and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Very similar when Chewie. Spoiler alert: when you think Chewie dies on that cargo ship or whatever, and then he comes back. It's very similar to Marion. You think that she's gone, and she comes back, a little bit later. So I thought that was. That similarity was
the Marion scene written a lot better than the Chewbacca.
Marion scene was written a lot better. Yes, I totally agree. Agree.
I mean, it's just kind of a lot of jokes as it goes through on how ridiculous things are in the movie. They're in the Well of the Souls, and then they just kind of go out the back door. Great artwork though on the truck transfer from horse. There's a kid waiting at the back door. He's collecting.
He's collecting for the newspaper.
Is your mummy home?
That stuff is funny for me.
It is. There's some puns. There's some planned words. There's some things. The truck fight. The artwork is great. Again, the jokes are kind of like, it's okay. One thing I do like is that they do reference the sub scene and the problem with the sub scene, because if there is an outlandish moment in Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's the fact that Indiana Jones jumps on a sub for however many miles, and we know the deleted scene, but it wasn't in the movie. We know that he lashed himself to the periscope and it didn't submerge. But if you just watch the movie, and again, going back through the mists of time when they're writing this, they don't have that.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, and you're much older than me, much older than me, Joe. So you got to you got to tell me.
No, just your jokes are older than mine. That's.
Was that something that people were talking about back when the movie first came out?
I was 14. I didn't care because you were so blown away by it. But if I were an adult comic book writer, I probably would have looked at that and started putting the pieces together. Like, oh, that doesn't work. And again, if you're looking at Dick D had said when he had his little notebook in the theater and he's writing stuff down and everything. You're looking for stuff like that. You're looking for things that don't make any sense that you can make a joke out of it. But I do like the fact that they wrote that in there. What was it? I'll merely hang on to the outside of this for 1,600 miles. I hope it doesn't submerge. I haven't mastered breath control too good yet. I mean, at least they reference it. I mean, is the joke funny? I don't know, but it's, they kind of reference it. And again, kind of an easy joke to hit the end of, because you're now in 1981 fully into sequelitis and summer blockbusters, and when's the next one coming? We got Star Wars, we got Jaws 2 at that point, and everything. So In the Ark is the script for the next movie. I mean, it's a pretty easy gag.
That was a nice touch. I like that. But I mean, is this my favorite? Is this my favorite spoof or satire of Raiders? No, definitely not.
Great artwork though.
But the artwork is fantastic.
Yeah, and a few good jokes, enough that I could just recommend. Like, if you're an indie fan, you should probably have either the collector's edition or the magazine.
Give it a read. I mean, you could probably find it online too. I mean, I wouldn't spend too much money on this, but definitely
like
give
you
it a
said,
read.
You do get Superman and Sylvester on the cover and the Ark, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. But I mean, other than that, I mean, not missing that much.
No, and I think one thing we noticed too was on the credits page. There's a section in Crack Magazine that says "What's up front our cover." Again, it's not a great joke, but it's so they would talk about the cover. in it, and they're like, "Hey, Sylvester, you can't fly. It's Superman that can fly," And
the other guy can. Exactly.
The other guy can't, and then you get the arc. So it's just kind of like a cool Raiders collectible, and some of the jokes are okay. There's the scene where Tote grabs the, what's his name in here? It's Toto. Grabs the
Toto,
medallion and like burns his hand, but then she picks it up with a silk cloth.
That was always a joke.
So again, did that one bother you?
Yeah.
So it bothered your dad, but not you.
It did bother me because my dad made a cut. He's like, oh, he just burned his hand, and she could pick it up with that thin little thing. Like, when we're watching the movie, and when I'm a kid, so stuff like that sticks with, has stuck with me. So I actually, when I was reading that, I'm like, yeah, all right, at least somebody mentioned that. Finally.
Your dad could have been a writer for Crack Magazine.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Exactly. He was on that level of Crack Magazine comedy writer. So
sure, that's for sure.
All right, let's move on to issue 208, the spoof of your favorite Indiana Jones movie. What's this one called?
Indianapolis Bones and the Temple of Gloom.
Okay, so he's Indianapolis now.
Yeah,
he's not. Yeah. He's not Indian Bones. He's Indianapolis.
Right. Well, maybe he was Indianapolis Bones, but people just called him Indian. Like Indy for Indiana, who knows?
I guess, but in the next one, he's Windiana. So
you call him Dr. Indianapolis doll.
I still like In Banana Jones from...
In Banana still
I still like In Banana, but again, cover by John Severin. Again, the What's Up Front Our Cover little feature on the credits page. Come on, kids, don't play around. Can't you see that Indiana... So they call him Indiana there, shouldn't they call him Indianapolis? Anyway, whatever. Can't you see these in dire trouble, but then when Annie... So we got the cover is all of the thuggy guards coming after Indiana Jones or Indianapolis Bones. In this one, he's got a whip, and Sylvester has snipped the whip in half, and Short Round or
bottom round.
He's playing jump rope with it. Okay, yeah, it's cute.
It's fine.
Okay.
It's nothing. Yeah,
we cut up Indiana Jones. Get it? We cut up Indiana Jones. We cut the.
I don't know, man. There's just something about these that just don't hit
it's
for
mad-ish.
me.
It's not Mad Magazine. So you got to kind of go into that knowing. I mean, the warning is clearly on the package, but.
Definitely.
Anyway, so now he's Indianapolis. Okay, so again, it lists 9 writers for this.
9 writers, right? John Severin and then 6 other artists. So
yeah, so we know Severin did it.
Who knows?
He signed. I mean, Severin's name is in the artwork. So we know he did that one. It's safe to assume, I think, George Schlatter, so he's listed first. They probably, it seems like there was a hierarchy that when they would do these, like the first one, because even in the next one, Crusade, it's the writers that are listed last that are coming. So it's almost like in order of the book, I kind of get. So
yeah, and also if you're listed first, you're probably getting some of the bigger, the bigger writing jobs, and this was 7 pages. So I would assume it's George Gladir.
Let's assume that. Yeah, characters in this one, we've got Indianapolis Bones and Wooly Scotties.
High chair. I mean, a bottom round
for Lao Che, bottom round, right?
Right, not allowed. I mean, some of these are a little a little too obvious for me.
I guess. Once again, we're headed to Pancake Palace. That was a pretty easy joke. Mad Magazine had that one.
Yeah.
But not as much pancakes references in this one that Dick D had in his.
Yeah. Oh my God, he had them. Well, he said he loves pancakes.
He loves pancakes. So yeah, but they did make the joke in here.
There was a great dinner scene though. And then some of the jokes were maybe a bit better, I would think.
Throughout. The whole beginning part where they're at Lao Che or high chair is the one joke I did like there was like here's your food, and they throw the spikes into his heart. He's full. I ordered the ribs. He ordered the chicken. I mean that's kind of a cute little joke.
It's fine. I mean here's the thing. I was laughing kind of out loud reading the Mad stuff. Like here I'm chuckling. I'm chuckling. I'm like, all right, that's kind of funny. That's but again, when it hits, it hits. It's pretty good. But most of this stuff is like, kind of the obvious jokes that are taken here. But the artwork is just phenomenal.
The artwork is spectacular. Again, like some of the jokes you mentioned, first down a snow-covered mountain, then over a cliff and a river. Do you know what this voyage is doing to my hair? Where are we anyway? I mean, that's kind of like Willie's character in the movie. And then
Right.
from the looks of the man greeting us, I'd say India. So it looks like Gandhi, like, they have a depiction of Gandhi there. So it's just, I don't know. It's just
it's not spoofy enough for me. Like, again, like, some of the stuff hits too close to the original characters. And I want to see.
Oh, go ahead.
And sorry, I just want to, I do want to see something a bit different, something a bit funnier.
I do like when they're headed to Pancake Palace and they're riding the elephants, and they're the Ringling Brothers elephants, and Wooly is being swallowed by the trunk, like her entire body. So that's a pretty good visual gag that we hear. And speaking of gag, like you mentioned, we do have the dinner scene here. I thought was funny. There's monkey claws parmesan, my favorite.
Oh yeah, that's it. The monkey claws parmesan. Yeah, I mean,
sautéed camel humps.
Yeah, as someone that has had a monkey brains cake at my wedding years ago, I have a soft spot for the monkey brains. But
then a nice punchline. There's a punchline because it kind of reads like the whole panel from left to right, and then it gets to somebody at the end, and it says, "Well, they did say this movie would be one of the top grossers of all time." That's a solid punchline. That's a solid setup and a solid punchline. So I'm giving props to that one.
Hit and miss. Hit and miss is probably the best way to describe all of these that we're doing today.
But my least favorite scene in Temple of Doom is my favorite scene in the Temple of Gloom. The dinner scenes. I thought it made sense. I do like. There is some breathing room to these. I do like how this plays out. I always thought the Shankara stones looked like giant potatoes.
Yeah, they do.
And Bottom Ram thinks that they look like giant potatoes too. So I thought that was kind of good. They're going to help Wooly work on her tan. There's like the tanning bed of the time of just like shoving her in some lava. And I
kind of think it's funnier when we're talking about it as opposed to just reading it. Like when we're talking about it, it seems funnier, right?
Maybe. Okay, so here's the recommendation. If you're going to read this, Zoom somebody in with you and have lots of adult beverages.
Yes.
Is that fair
like
enough?
what we do every time we record, right? I mean,
Yeah.
So it's been. I mean, so to be honest, like rereading these for the for this segment, I was like, yeah, they're kind of okay. But as we're talking about them, it definitely, I'm appreciating it a bit more.
Yeah, and Bottom Round's got the chainsaw by Montgomery Ward. So that's pretty cool, this little thing. The unrealistic fighting. Like, how could Short Round take out all these thuggy guards? It's because he watched a lot of Bruce Lee movies.
Yeah, well,
of course he did.
I mean, because Bruce Lee was alive in the 30s, right? Anyway,
it's not supposed to make any sense. That's the whole.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Whoops, I forgot.
I do think it leads to the ending. They get to the end, and it's like, where are all the kids going? The village is back, and where are all the kids running off to? Oh, they're running off to the village newsstand to buy their copy of Cracked. Okay.
Yeah, a bit self-serving, but
a little bit. Okay. It's not the script for the sequel in the arc ending the other one had. So
no.
Again, a mixed bag. If you're an Indiana Jones fan, I say get the magazine for the art alone, and the cover is kind of cool. And there are a few good jokes. There's
a couple good jokes in there. Definitely give it a read. But it's nothing that you're not missing that much, to be honest. And next up, we have issue number 249 with Joe. We got this time we got Windiana Bones
really?
in the Loot Crusade. Now he's Windiana. I mean, come on.
Why?
I don't know.
Doesn't
make any
sense.
Is
it windy? Like, is it whiny?
He's full of wind.
Full of wind. Is he windy? And
yeah, it just doesn't.
We're running out of steam here. I love the cover. I love the cover. I got Batman. I got Ghostbusters. I got Indiana Jones. But Windiana's a little weak. But it's not.
They are running out of wind here because this one. I mean, the other ones were 7 pages. Now we're down to 5 pages now.
Yeah.
So it's the same with the Mad ones.
Different writer, different artist too. I think on this one too. So
exactly.
Not as strong as they're cracked parodies. I guess you could say. Sure.
No. This I have to say this one I read it and maybe there was a giggle here and there.
Could you read it?
I read it, but
I had a tough time reading it. I'm getting older. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be.
The art wasn't as great either.
How small is that font?
Yeah.
I can't read it, Keith. I'm getting old. I can't. I need readers or something.
You said it. I said it. I know I made a joke before.
Look, even for a teenager, this font's pretty small. Look at the rest of the magazine. We got giant font on the Rippers Believe It or Bail thing and all the other parodies. But even Don Martin is in this magazine too. They did get some talent from that magazine.
Yeah.
But the font is so small. Okay, look, let's talk about writer-artist. Changing it up here a little bit.
Yeah. The writer was Tony Frank, and the artist was Walt Brogan as Waltiana Connery Brogan, which I like when they sort of spoof their own names and so on.
That's a very Marvel thing to do, like Jazzy John Romita and Stan the Man, and so yeah.
Of course, you get some great character names like Mucus again, and Barfer Tonophan or Ton of Fun. But, of course, it's Donovan, ton of fun. But Echla Schnatter, I guess? Yeah.
That was a big thing. There was always, Ack. Like, Marvel had not brand Ack.
Yeah. A lot of mucus and snots and boogers. Yeah.
Boogers are
but
funny,
Solid
right?
Was
that
not
boogers
named.
were funny. No, not in this one.
Solid was not named, of course, and then we have some great 1980, 89 cameos by Batman and Roger Rabbit, of course.
Yeah, and again, we know where we're at here. We're firmly in the world of 1989, Severin to the cover. Amazing cover. So we've got Sylvester as the Joker. We've got Sylvester as Slimer. We've got Sylvester as Adolf Hitler, terrorizing, the Batman Ghostbuster, Bill Murray and Harrison Ford. So really, and Star Trek V's in this. As we said, Don Martin. So again, it's kind of a cool magazine to have. There's a lot going on in it. I'm just not a fan of this parody in Windiana Bones and the Loot Crusade. Yeah, it's like they're going after the money because it's a sequel. Batman cameos in it, Roger Rabbit cameos in it. Okay, but I can't tell what's going on. There's so much crammed in, and it looks like this.
It moves too fast.
It does move too
fast.
But doesn't it look like this? There's enough in here for a 6-pager, but they crammed it all into 5, and even the artwork got all crammed in because I can't even tell what's going on in some of these panels.
Classic Indiana Jones comic problem, right? Some of them weren't long enough. They didn't give enough space to some of those stories. Same thing here. You could have had another page or two. I think.
Right.
Would have fleshed it out a bit.
Yeah, even with Windiana and Ekla, in the looking after the, going down the catacombs, it looks like that panel is scrunched, like they just scrunched it together to fit onto the page because it looks like they're too thin. It just doesn't look like the artwork can breathe anywhere in here.
Who knows what some of these artists and writers are even remembering? Because we hear a lot that we heard from Dick DiBartolo, they would just take a notepad and go to the theater and watch these movies and write down. So who knows? Maybe they're just making quick notes, like, all right, make Catacombs, and then when it gets eventually to the to actually drawing this stuff, who knows? But I agree with you though. Like all this stuff seems very bunched up.
Yeah, and like the Mad Magazine parody, it's at the end of the book. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles took over in the Mad Magazine, and then this one kind of got relegated to the back. Same thing here, Batman off the top. So you got a cool parody, Severin, on that one. But this one kind of gets relegated to the back. Again, by 89, I guess that was the thing. Indiana Jones, was...
riding into the sunset.
Yeah, Batman was the new hot thing. Indiana Jones was on his 3rd movie. There is kind of an interesting little joke here about... Sean Connery, his character Henry Sr. with Ekla, and it's a little risque. You can see that
it is a bit risque. I mean,
and you're right, and it references Hitler, and it's probably the only thing that made me laugh in this one. So,
I think it's even funnier when you're reading this as like a teenager. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah, it's definitely
because again, it's in that vein of like I probably shouldn't be reading this as a kid,
Right.
Right. Yeah, some of the Harrison. I mean, dead on Connery. We get the drinking from the Grail joke that we got in Mad, and he becomes James Bond again, the young James Bond. So that's pretty low hanging fruit at this point. It's just it moves along so fast. It seems like an afterthought in here. It's certainly not the highlight of the magazine. It's certainly not the featured parody of the magazine. I'm not a huge fan of this one.
Me neither. Again, you don't there's a theme going here. Like, you don't really need to own this. You don't, if you happen to find one and you want to complete your collection, yeah, fine, get it. But I mean, I think you could probably find a decent PDF of it online somewhere if you really want to read it and sort of if you're a completionist or completist, I should say, like me, you're going to want to have it tucked away somewhere, but not necessary to own it.
Yeah, I had 2 of these parodies. Somebody sold 2 of these, and then another random Mad online. I think I got it for under $5. So it was off eBay. So it was pretty. I just wanted to have it just to have it. But exactly. Move on. Look, Cracked final issue in 2007. We talked about the different permutations about it. So obviously it didn't make it to 2008. So we don't have any Crystal Skull reference in Cracked magazine. But that does take us to Crazy magazine. This was
Marvel's Crazy.
Marvel's Crazy. Marvel's version of Mad. Everybody had to have a version of Mad. Marvel definitely had a Crazy magazine in 1953 to 1954. This one that we're familiar with, if you kind of grew up in that era of the 70s, the one we're familiar with had a 10-year run from 1973 to 1983. So yeah, a pretty good run on that one. They did have the sort of mascot. Again, it was originally the Nebbish, I think they had. So then it was Irving Nebbish.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then it sort of became what I kind of remember. And again, I was Mad Magazine. I wasn't really correct. I don't remember a lot about the Crazy magazine, but I do remember this like clown. Was it Obnoxo?
It's like a belligerent clown, Obnoxio or something.
Obnoxio, yeah, I think. Yeah,
Obnoxio, yeah.
It was just, I mean, okay.
They were looking for something to compete with Mad. I mean, that much is obvious.
Yeah, so he made his first appearance in June of 1980. That was issue 63. Belligerent clown. Again, they're all trying to be a version of Mad. The cover, I think, was the cover of this. I really remember though is it's the Amsel painting that we're all familiar with.
Yeah,
but Obnoxio's coming down into the tomb on a rope, and he's painting glasses and a mustache on the Harrison on Indiana Jones, and his head, kind of like Alfred E. Newman on the Mad magazine, was the idol, the Chachapoyan idol. Same thing here with the clown. So, but it's pretty much basically a ripoff of the poster. I guess because it's a parody, they didn't have to worry about copyright issues. I don't know.
Exactly. And that, I mean, and that's probably easily accessible where they can, copy it. Much easier than maybe just coming up with something original.
I guess Bob Larkin did the cover, so it's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's one of the iconic ones. Again, if you're an Indiana Jones fan, you probably want to have this. Keith, writer and artist, though.
Oh my goodness, Paul Kupperberg and Bob Camp. Writer Paul Kupperberg and artist Bob Camp. Those guys are great. And we might be hearing something from them very, very soon. You guys are just going to have to stay tuned and listen to the IndyCast for that.
Yeah, but, we will say this: we will spill the beans a little bit. We did talk to them, we did interview them. So as we're going through this review, I think you and I will probably be a little kinder to this.
We'll be much kinder, knowing that they might be listening. Hello, guys.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because we talked to them. They're spoiler alert, they're not that crazy about this spoof. As we get into it, I think it's fine. It's look, and we get into it. It's called Raiders of the Lost Ark. Everything back then was, like we said, Arg or Black or something like that, and it's so that's the joke that we have there. I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about this parody. I love Camp's splash page. I know he's not a huge fan of his own early art, but I love the splash page.
Jack Davis too. That splash page is
Jack Davis. Yeah.
It just amazing stuff. I mean, we got some funny names here too. We got Hoboken Smith. We got Bellyache. Morion Shorewood. Again, Sally instead of Sally. I mean, the names are great. The names are absolutely great.
Kupperberg having some fun with this, and Camp definitely having some fun with this. He threw everything. And the kitchen sink. Not everything but the kitchen sink. He made sure to include the kitchen sink in this. We're going to talk to him about that splash page and how that came about. But yeah, we've got Indy, in this one, we've got Hoboken Smith, as you mentioned, which I kind of like that. It goes in a different direction.
It fits.
But he's running out of the temple, so that whole big sequence. But Kupperberg just totally deviates from the he doesn't even try to get like the airplane and the OBCPO and like from crack. He's like, let's pull a taxi cab up in the middle of the jungle and get Indy out on a taxi cab. It's so nuts. I think I'm just going to give this thing points for being weird.
Wouldn't you just say it's crazy?
I say it's crazy.
I mean, it's a bit crazy. But you could see the taxi cab is definitely influenced. I mean, Kupperberg, grew up in Manhattan or grew up in New York. So, I mean, you got that influence there. But I mean, yeah, these guys are definitely having some fun with it.
Right, what you know. Yeah,
Indy. Right, what you know.
Indy, I say Indy, but it's Hoboken. He went after the Golden Cupie in this one.
The Golden Cupie.
I mean, and it's like, look, the artwork, I love the Mad Magazine artwork. Love most of the Cracked artwork as we go through. Again, Camp's artwork as we go through here, it is a bit simplistic in spots as we kind of go through some of these things. But as you'll hear in our chat with him, this is so early in his career. And
in his career.
Yeah, he was even looking at this going, what did I do? Like, so, and again, it's so fast. And what's cool is you'll hear kind of his influences. What sort of influenced him as he was putting this together. So it's interesting. But I will say, in these early panels, these early pages, he does a really good Harrison Ford. And Keith,
something else we talk about.
Yeah,
at length.
We're not gonna We're not gonna spill the beans in this episode, but tease it for us. What can Indy fans look forward to in our next chat?
Oh my goodness, you guys are gonna find out some very interesting stuff about Bob Camp, and maybe find out a little bit about his. I don't know. How would you say it? His
influence.
Yeah,
on a certain comic book,
especially on a certain comic book character that we like to talk about on this show that we did not know about previously.
No, I was racking my brain. I was going back through the interviews that we've done over how many years now? My goodness, I don't know that ever came up.
No. And of course, do we want to just leave it for the interview, or do we want to sort of?
No, we're going to leave it. No, we're going to leave it out there. But there's definitely an influence on Indiana Jones in the world of comics. Let's just say that.
Yes. You definitely have to give it a listen.
It's certainly not one thing that jogged my memory in all these years. So I think this was something that was new to us, or you and I are just getting so old that we just forget stuff. So it's that could always
speak for yourself, Joe. Speak for yourself. So
yeah. Listen here, old man. But no, he does do a very good Harrison Ford, and it's the crooked nose, it's the kind of face that we talked about, it's the hat, it's the fedora, all those different things that were so hard to draw for artists over the years. So I think that's really good. It's the resolution of the story, what comes out of the arc. It's in their spoof. It's a dodo bird.
Yeah, I mean.
Right?
I mean, we don't even know. I don't even think they knew what they were sort of trying to say with that. I mean, but it is kind of funny. And again, when I first read it, I was like, okay, it's a dodo bird. Fine, it's extinct. Maybe they're trying to go with whatever. But as we're talking about it, it's getting a bit funnier.
It's so weird that I think we almost have to give it points for being so random and weird.
Unique for sure.
Yeah, it's not the sort of jokes you say, oh, hey, this movie's outlandish, then this happens, and hey, Marion, Raven, I get it. Some of those jokes are pretty easy. Here's the script for the sequel. We found the script for the sequel. Some of those jokes were easy, and some of the other parodies. This is just so nuts.
Field, man.
Yeah, and even like when Marion is being tortured, or in this, Morion, I think he was trying to do more. Anyway, it's not the typical torture scene. It's tickling her with a feather, which is just so goofy.
That's pretty funny.
I actually chuckled at that one. You could definitely tell there's a Harrison Ford where he's pulling back with the whip. That is probably a still that Camp got from when they were in Cairo, when they're being attacked. He and Marion were shopping, and like that whole scene with the baskets and everything. You can kind of tell some of these things are directly from that. Look, I like it. I'm just going to go out there and say it. I like this one. It's so goofy that I'm going to give it points for, and it's one of my faves.
Same here.
Okay.
Definitely better for me than the Cracked parodies. So
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely love the Mad Magazine ones, but I mean, as I was reading the Cracked ones, I was like, oh man, some of these are kind of hard to get through. But once I got to the Crazy magazine parody, it sort of rejuvenated me, and I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think because there's a pedigree with Marvel. I think because it's in that wheelhouse of like the Marvel bullpen. And we'll talk about that in the interview with these guys, and the fact that we got to talk with two of the talents that put it together.
Oh yeah, I mean, they pulled the curtain back a little bit on this. So I mean, this is one, like I said about the Cracked ones, you don't really need to go out and find these. I would try to track this one down. May not be so easy to track an actual copy down, but if you get it at a good price, absolutely worth it.
Yeah, it is a little pricey online. I've checked it out. We'll put a link up. I think this is somebody posted online, so we can put that link up there as well. But this is one of the pricier ones. When you're going after an old Marvel comic, sometimes those can get pricey. One other sort of parody thing that we want to mention in here too, by writer and artist Gary Hallgren, is in this issue. You want to keep looking for that too. It's a one-pager, The Two-Fisted Fantasy. It basically starts with a picture of Marion and Indy. I think it's okay. I think that picture is okay. Looks like it's from the. I'm trying to think. Was it Struzen that did the art for like the 25th anniversary poster? And it was also like the picture that we see on the album, the story of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it was like a it was a foreign poster. It looks like it may have been taken from that kind of thing, but you guys can all send me emails and bust my chops if it wasn't Struzen, but for some reason I was thinking it was that, but I could be wrong.
I think so too.
But he's like, but Marion's like, I brought your favorite drink, darling. Is there anything else I can do? Rub your back, clean your hat, give you money, crawl through snakes. You can get the heck away from me. You're spoiling my view. That's the Two-Fisted Fantasy, the big tough guy. And then the pampered reality is a teenager with like an Indiana Jones hat, and his mom's like giving him acne cream, and it's just.
It's a quick gag, but it's a gag. Yep. Yeah, it's funny.
But that's in the magazine too. So if you get it, there's another little Indiana Jones. So why don't we recap it? What are your thoughts? Cracked and Crazy spoofs overall.
Cracked and Crazy spoofs. Fun. It was nice to revisit some of these. Some of them I haven't read before, so really cool to sort of like to do a deep dive into these. The Cracked ones can take it or leave it. Like I said, it was just more for me a nostalgic visit back to an old magazine that I used to read when I was a teenager. I really loved reading the Crazy parody of Raiders. Kind of wish they would have been able to do Doom and Crusade. Would have loved to have seen what they could have done with those, but I'm happy with what we got. Definitely, like I said, if you can find the Crazy magazine with Raiders in it, definitely try to get it. The Cracked ones, I'm sure you can find them somewhere online. Give them a read. But I actually had a lot of fun reading these overall, and of course talking to you about it.
Yeah, Crazy wrapped in 1983, so we didn't get the other ones. Boy, Indianapolis Bones and the Temple of Gloom, that's got to be my favorite. I think there were just some jokes in there that I kind of did. I kind of moved on.
Good. It's good.
It was funny. Traders of the Lost Ark. It's fine from Cracked. It's look, the art in all these is amazing. The third one, Indiana Bones and the Loot Crusade. I mean that one I could take or leave it, but just to be a completist, I got to put that in there.
Yeah,
Crazy. It is bug nuts crazy.
It is bug nuts crazy.
And it's Bob Camp and it's Paul Kupperberg. It's what more do you want? And they did other parodies. We talk about that in the interview too. There's a Conan one. We get a little bit of backstory in that. Great Stan Lee stories are coming up. So. Yeah, it's just it's kind of nice to go back through the mist of time, get a little nostalgic. Just sit down and read these with you and crack a cold adult beverage, and I think that's the best way to the best way to read these.
Also, the best way to close out 2020 for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's it for the day then.
All right, as Indiana Jones says, that is it for the day. Man, we've brought you a lot of spoofs. Big thanks to Ed Dollista, not only for this platform that he's given us on the IndyCast to chat about these things, but for the idea, too, to chat about these spoofs. Keith and I kicked that around, but weren't 100% sure we were going to do it, but Ed's like, hey, do the spoofs, and we did the spoofs, and we got you some great interviews. Dick DiBartolo, my goodness, coming up. We've got a great one for you. These things are out there. We're going to put the links out there for you on our Facebook page as well. I'm going to send them to Ed for the website. But Keith, Facebook, where can they find us and how can they send us an email?
Well, as always, you guys can drop us a line at thefurtheradventures@gmail.com, or why don't you go ahead and record an MP3 and send it to us. Be sure to also check us out on Facebook at The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, where you will find an episode guide for everything we got covered here on the IndyCast.
Paul Kupperberg, Bob Camp, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that is next time on The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.